Welcome to Obsessed with Success, starring Russel Morgan.
Welcome back to Obsessed with Success with Russel Morgan. Russell is the founder and CEO of Morgan Legal Group, a top-performing estate planning firm in New York. He's also a legal strategist and mentor known for helping attorneys build practices that are not only profitable, but powerful. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about your brand. Your brand is more than a logo or a color palette. It's your reputation. It's what clients say about you when you're not in the room, and it's what makes people remember you and refer you. Well, Russell, welcome.
Kevin, great to see you as always.
Yeah, great to see you too. I'm a marketing guy by trade, so the branding stuff is always interesting to me. So I'm curious, how do you define a law firm's brand beyond just its visual elements?
You raised a valid point. A big part of branding is what do people say about you when you're not in the room. So beyond your visual elements, it really is your reputation. And that comes from various places. It comes from your former and existing clients. It comes from your colleagues. It comes from third-party endorsements and platforms that have recognized you as a professional, or in some cases as an expert in the field. So it's really a combination of all of the above. Having a beautiful website is great, but what goes beyond that? What is the value add that you're providing, and why should they pick you? What makes you stand out? There has to be something about you that attracts your clients. It could be your knowledge, it could be your expertise, it could be experience, but all of that is rolled into your branding. Because somebody who has knowledge, who has experience, but if nobody knows about it, then you're losing out. You're not attracting the clients that may very well be looking for someone just like you. And the reason they can't find you is because they can't find you. So your branding is so pivotal, especially today in an instant environment where everything is at a click of a button. You working on your branding is just as important as your product and service delivery.
Do you feel that lawyers don't think about branding when they're thinking about their practice or even their marketing efforts? Do they not? Marketing is one thing, but having a true brand is an extra step, right?
It's absolutely true. And oftentimes it's because you're too busy being a lawyer, and that's your job. That's what you're here for. And that makes your team so much more important because you are here to assist the public. You're here to provide a service to the public. So making sure that you have a good and great, if possible, marketing and advertising team, reputation management team, public relations team, a well-rounded brand development team who can actually highlight all of your pros, make sure that you're visible in all of the right places, get you into the right marketing events and the right forums, the places where you're going to attract your business. Now, if you're in retail, that may differ versus if you're in wholesale or you're in commercial, but it's making sure that you're getting in front of the people that you need to get in front of to build your network. Because at the end of the day, your business is built on your network. And that could be online advertising or marketing, or it could be referral based. But it's a constant effort. Your job is to make sure you're showing face and showing your best face. And your team's efforts are to make sure that they're getting you in front of the people that you must be in front of on a regular basis to have a consistent flow of business.
When you think back to starting Morgan Legal and you thought about your branding, what were the things you thought about? What did you want to convey?
It's conveying a message of, most importantly, assurances in your product and service. It's making sure that you can demonstrate, both in your experience and your support, that you are qualified for the job that you're saying you're qualified for. It's one thing to say that you're able to do something. It's another thing to have a proven track record. And with that being said, lawyers have ethical obligations. So everything that we're putting out into the public realm absolutely must be true. And that makes your branding that much more important. If you have decades or years of accolades or award winning cases, or let's just say cases that made history, these are things that can help your brand development.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not getting out there, if they're not getting the exposure that they should be getting, people don't know how good you are or how great of a service you can deliver. So it's always been service facing. It's always been product and delivery facing. That has been from day one and will continue. The difference is when you build history and you build a track record, you're able to show a level of experience aside from your know-how. So
How
we
important?
developed
Sorry.
that over time to make sure that that has its own.
How important do you think it is for your brand to be consistent across the client experience, whether you're talking online, offline? Is it important to keep all of that cohesive?
Absolutely. Your client experience, and I preach this in all of our podcast episodes. Your client experience is really what drives your business. If your client experience is poor, you're going to have less clients, or you're going to have people who are upset. So it's an everlasting practice and development of your core client experience, making sure that you're collecting your feedback. Most importantly, that you're actually implementing the feedback, whether it's good or bad, and constantly refining your client experience. Because what works for you today may not work tomorrow. And what works for client number one is not going to work for client number two. And look, let's be frank here. You can't please everybody, but we're looking for overall quality, that your product delivery and your service delivery is at the best level that it should be.
I think a lot of people, especially like you said, law firms, lawyers are focused on building their practice. They're doing lawyer things. What do you think about someone who doesn't have a brand but wants to get a compelling brand? How would you tell them to start? Because obviously marketing is not most lawyers' area of expertise.
The best piece of advice that I can give anybody who's looking to break into building their reputation, building their brand, is make sure that you have good advisors. And I think this my opinion at least is, whether you're a law firm or a commercial business or a real estate brokerage or a storefront, brand development and brand management is something that you need to make sure that you can sustain your business. We live in a capitalist market. And if your bread and butter is retail clients, you're going to need to develop your brand. And if being a lawyer or being someone who's not necessarily good, or maybe just doesn't enjoy brand management or brand and reputation development, you need to make sure that your advisors are as good as they can be. And the ones that are more expensive are more expensive for a reason. These are tried and tested. So this is not something where we necessarily want to look for the cheapest possible option. That can cost you 10 or 100 fold just because they're not as good as the ones that are charging more. And that can cost you time, that can cost you money, and it can hurt your brand long term. So make sure you're dealing with real professionals so you can focus on honing your craft and perfecting what you do best.
You've obviously put a lot of thought into your brand. You talk about how much content you put up. You do speaking engagements, TV appearances. Do you feel like your public credibility has risen, has gotten so considerably better because of all of these?
I think that's a question for the public.
Hang on, let me ask him.
I would leave that to our listeners. That, of course, like anything else, when you're seeing someone constantly in front of you, when you're seeing a logo or a brand constantly in front of you, you're going to remember it. And this is why you see things like product placement in movies and TV shows. They're not necessarily looking for you to buy today, but they want to make sure that you're remembering their brand so that when you're in the supermarket or you're in the store, that you identify their brand over the others. So I'm sure it has an effect because we're leaving lasting memories in not necessarily clients today, but prospective clients. And that's really your long-term goal here, is to make sure that you have not just brand identity, but brand recognition. And it's consistently out there so people can find you readily available at any time. As always, consistency and persistence are your keys, especially when we're talking about brand development and brand management. Because doing this, every once in a while, you're not going to have enough to really deliver. And there's so much out there, especially in the professional world, that you can give to the people. There's so much content that you can write about. There's so much you can speak about. And we're living in a digital world. What does it really cost you to produce content? I mean, we have it in the palm of our hands. Taking, an hour a day or an hour a week just to write an article or, publish a YouTube video or shoot a podcast, it doesn't feel like uh, you're putting in as much effort as the output that you're actually getting. You're getting in front of the public. You're, if nothing else, providing a service, because in most cases, at least in our profession and in any professional business, your job is to deliver value. And even if they don't become your clients, at least you can provide invaluable resources to the people that may not be able to afford your services, but will absolutely thank you for making resources readily available.
I totally agree with you, like with the logo recognition and you said the product placement. I've used the example of, I'm a big hockey fan. I've used the example of hockey arenas. They
Right.
have the logos around there. They're not ads that necessarily tell anybody what the product even is. It just is the logo. That's it.
And that's kind of the point. And
Right.
that's why you see companies spending millions of dollars just to appear in, the Netflix and on movies. But they're not looking for you to buy today, but you might leave the theater or you might get up, from your couch if you're watching Netflix and you're hungry or you want to listen to music. And you're going to remember what you saw in the shows that you were watching or in the movie that you were watching, and you're going to recognize the brand. And that's what they're looking for.
For some of the people out there who maybe have a brand, but they're not quite doing it right, what are some of the mistakes you see that you would coach people to kind of try to fix?
Inconsistency, once in a while doesn't necessarily work.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that you are delivering consistent content. It's the number one thing that I see that people are just not doing. I can't say they're doing it wrong. It's just not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Beyond that, it's making sure that what you're putting out there, beyond being honest and truthful, which of course is number one, is actually adding value, that it's something people want to see, or something people want to hear or pay attention to. It could be something that's relevant to today's news. It could be some new law that's been passed. It could be an unfortunate tragedy or something that resonates with the public. And if you're in a retail business, you're facing people. If you're in commercial business, you're facing businesses. But it's something that sticks out, that people want to pay attention to and listen to. Current events are going to be your best friend. There's something going on at every waking moment. We're in a 24-hour news cycle. There's so much out there that people just don't deliver when the opportunity is there. So that would have to be the number one error, is they're not capitalizing on the opportunity to deliver value-based propositions based on current events.
What are some underrated things people can do that might strengthen their brand without doing a full rebrand or taking up just an exceptional amount of time?
It always comes back to basics. Certain people love to read, other people's love to listen, other people like to watch.
Hmm.
And it costs you nothing to write and post an article or to shoot a video or a podcast. These are things that, for the most part, if you know where to look, you can put together on your own. So I would always start with your foundation and go back to basics. This isn't something that you have to spend a tremendous amount of money on or something that you have to put in a colossal amount of time on. Just be consistent. Take an hour a week or take an hour a day, depending on what your availability is. And just make sure you're putting out something meaningful that people actually want to listen to. There's the other mistake that we see all the time is people are, delivering, let's just say, a fair amount, if not a lot of content, but it doesn't really give much to the public. You're just regurgitating things that
Hmm.
are already out there.
Totally.
I've already seen it on Fox and I've already seen it on BuzzFeed or wherever else I'm looking at. What is your take? What's the difference between what they're saying and what you're saying? And that's where you're able to add your spin on it, where you're able to add your opinion or your advice to make sure that people are not just paying attention, but are applying it to everyday life.
And like anything else too, yeah, sure, there's a learning curve in the beginning, but once you kind of get it down, it's not so bad. It doesn't take as much time. Maybe those first few are going to take some more time as you figure out the camera and you figure out how to do your phone or whatever it is you're doing. But once you get in a groove, it really kind of becomes second nature.
Absolutely. And look, it's not for everyone. Public speaking is difficult. Putting
Yeah.
yourself out there is difficult. And not everyone is comfortable being on camera or being on television. So for those that aren't, we have audio. Create an audio book, for example, or write articles. People love to read. Certain people don't, but other people do. And even if they're not necessarily materializing today or tomorrow, they're remembering you because you provided something that was invaluable to them at the time that you provided it. And that's where that consistency comes in. You don't know who's on the other side. You don't know who's watching or listening. Your job is to make sure that whoever it is on the other side, that it's resonating with the public.
Absolutely. All right. Well, remember, clients don't just hire you for your credentials. They hire you for your clarity, your presence, as well as your reputation. A strong brand doesn't just set you apart. It helps the right people find you as well as trust you. For more insights from Russell and the Morgan Legal team, visit morganlegalny.com. And Russell, I know you're all over social media too.
Absolutely. Find us at Morgan Legal NY on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, or on YouTube, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 888-529-1315, or check us out on our website, morganlegalny.com. Till next time, Kevin, on Obsessed with Success.
Awesome. Thanks, Russell.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.